Hey guys, welcome back to our channel.
If you're new around here, I'm Natalie.
And I'm Jimmy.
And we're working on building out our SKOOLIE. We're in the middle of building out our dinette area, so we're working on the accent wall, and then Jimmy has been building the bench seating. And the first thing we need to do today is put in the shore power inlet into the side of the bus, which means we're cutting a hole in the wall of our bus today, which is always scary. Ooh, that's hot, even through my gloves. So I made the first hole from the inside, and then I also cut a hole through the 1-inch insulation. And Jimmy is doing the second hole to the outside, just because we both really wanted to do part of this because it's so cool and so rare that you get to cut a hole in the wall of the bus. And it's taking quite a toll on the battery of our drill, so he's gonna finish the cut from the outside. Wow.
That's a big hole. This is the first time I've dealt with 10 gauge wire, and I didn't realize how stiff it was. It's like so much worse than the 12, but got it all in. I think we're gonna now bring out the silicone and the screws and secure it in nice and watertight. We just finished drilling the hole, and we're trying to switch out the hole saw for a smaller drill bit so we can drill some pilot holes. And it's stuck again. This is like the third time it's happened where the drill like locks up and it's hard to get the drill bit out of it. But for some reason, Natalie has this technique that just works with it. So I'm gonna give it to her, and she'll get it unlocked for us.
Yeah, I gotta try it the normal way first. Not that it works, but. Okay. There we go.
Wow, that was so easy.
That's the fastest it's ever worked.
I don't get it. Like.
We have our 30 amp plug installed on the side of our bus. We're mostly going to use solar to recharge our batteries, but this will give us the option if we want to go to a campground. We'll be able to use their power and electricity to charge our batteries. With the inlet that we just installed, we have a 25-foot extension cord that we bought to go with it. So this just attaches to the inlet that we installed, and then we plug in the other side to the outlet at a campsite. Or we also bought a 30 amp to 15 amp adapter, and that will allow us to plug into someone's house outlet if we want to use that. And we won't be able to pull as much power from a house outlet as we could a 30 amp, but it's nice to have another option. So if we're staying with family or friends, we can use their power.
So now that we've put in the 30 amp shore power plug on the outside, it's time for me to switch gears and continue putting the pieces together for the second dinette bench. After talking with Natalie a little bit more, I think we did switch around our plans a little bit. So we still want storage in the backrest area, and we had thoughts of having 1/4-inch plywood in the back so that we'd have more room in that like 3-inch gap for like a small storage area for like phones, tablets, and computers and such. But that would take away from the structural integrity of the bench. And I could add supports, but the supports, where I'd have to put them, I would essentially be taken away from the storage area anyway. So I think what we're gonna do is we're going to just make the storage area smaller, use 1/2-inch plywood, and try to make a big enough space as we can, but not really worry about it. I think we're not gonna be putting too many electronics back there, but we do wanna have some type of hidden cupboard just so we can hide all of our wires in the future. So the first thing on my list to do is drill some pocket holes. All right, it's either we're starting to see double or I'm actually making progress on the second bench. I got it standing up and I got the back in. It's looking real good, don't you think, Natalie?
Yeah, it looks awesome. Can't wait to sit on those.
All right, so I'm gonna keep plugging away and trying to get the back done. After that, I'll finish with the seat.
I'm about halfway done gluing down the pieces onto the board, and it's really coming together. I think it's gonna look nice, especially once it has like a glossy coat of urethane on top of it. I really am happy with how it's turning out. I went ahead and cut out a big sheet of really thin plywood that I can screw into the wall to connect it. So I left a couple of pieces not glued down, and I'll glue them in once they're on the wall, but I needed to save a space for them. So they're sitting in place, but they are not glued, where everything else around them is glued in. And I think that's gonna give us some room to screw into the plywood board so that whenever we install the wall, you will not see the screws on top of the decorative part. We'll just be able to glue them on top once it's in place. There's this large 2x4 piece in the middle that is stained a slightly darker color. That's the dark walnut color that I wanna keep the trim. And this piece is actually gonna be structural. We need it to mount our table mount later so that that'll be well supported. So we didn't wanna put that on a decorative part of the wall. That part's not glued down, I just have it clamped in place to kind of help me put in the pieces in the right spots around it. I'm leaving this area out right here because that's where the dinette seat is gonna sit. So the bench is gonna cover this, and I just need to make sure that the design comes up to the bench and doesn't necessarily continue behind it because you'll never see it. I think Jimmy has finished most of the second chair, so we're gonna go try that out.
So not much different from having one, but now we've got two. We spaced it out, so this is the exact distance they'll be apart from each other in the bus, and we'll have a tabletop here that's not shown currently. I think it's really spacious. The footroom is not too bad. When there's two of us, we can kind of sit askew and our feet never touch. And then, you know, when we have two other people for company and there's 4 people at the dinette area, you know, you might have to play footsie with the person across from you, but it's really, honestly, pretty doable. So I'm really glad we, you know, kind of rethought our measurements and found a way to get the 2 dinette seats to work within our space. Because I really love this space. We're gonna be spending a lot of time here, and we've always wanted a dinette.
We've lived at 4 or 5 different places together, and we've never had a kitchen table, so we're really excited for this.
I think that's why the dinette means so much to us. So the sun's going down, so we're gonna kind of pack it up for today and meet you guys back out here tomorrow.
See you then. This morning is a really good one to spend cooped up in the workshop because it is really rainy and muddy outside. But thankfully we have a lot of gluing and maybe some painting, depending on where Jimmy is with his dinette bench seats. So it's kind of a perfect day for this. accidentally glued a paper towel to the board that I'm trying to glue the pieces to. And I gotta say, if this glue works half as well on wood as it does on paper towels, I think this wall will be fine.
I just finished cutting out and sanding the final piece of plywood for the benches. So it's really exciting. Now that I've got that done, I'm gonna move on to the hard part. So Natalie and I might have mentioned it before, but we wanted to make a small storage space in the back of this dinette. Yes, it will be the world's smallest storage space you've ever seen, but it only needs to fit a few phones and one USB outlet. So I think I'm going to try to do some measurements, kind of talk to Natalie of where we want it, and then build. I hesitate to use the word shelf because it will be so small, but a shelf in the middle of it, and then I need to figure out where we're gonna put the door, and then I'll cut out the door next. And then hopefully we can put all those pieces together and we'll have a nice little hidden charging cabinet. So I'm in the process of creating that little shelf for our charging station in the back of one of the dinettes. So I've cut out a 2-inch platform, and yes, this is the world's smallest shelf. I'm gonna attach this in the back of the dinette, and I am getting ready to drill my hole for my USB outlet. I think we're just gonna put a USB outlet back here. We had talks of like having an AC outlet here so we could like charge like our laptop and things like that. But there's just not enough room, so we kind of cut that, and we're just gonna do a USB outlet and just stick to like phones and tablets back here. So I'm gonna drop the USB outlet here. And one thing that we remembered over lunch was I need to make sure I have enough room for my WeBoost antenna. I totally forgot that we were gonna try to put that in here. So luckily I came back and I measured it, and the WeBoost antenna is exactly 2 inches wide, which is how wide this is. So there'll be just enough room to put the antenna here, which is great. I just need to make sure I need to drill the hole correctly to drop the wire through. I just need to make sure I don't forget any of that stuff.
I have all the main pieces for the wall completely done. I just need to go in and put in some pieces on the top and bottom so that they're flush. I know I mentioned I haven't exactly figured out how I'm going to do the trim, and so I just want to give myself some flexibility in case part of it's visible so I don't have to cover it up if I don't want to. I probably should have stained these pieces ahead of time when I was staining everything else, but I don't know, I don't really mind going back and doing it because now I'm gonna stain the trim too, so I'm kind of getting into the staining process anyway. I pretty much did the same thing on the left side as I did on the right side, which is the one I did first. I just added an extra row of pieces on that side because I think more of it will be visible, and I followed the same pattern with leaving pieces unglued so that we can screw the panel in place. I just did something very dumb. So I've been leaving a couple of pieces on the wall loose so that I have a place to screw in the board into the supports. And so I had that all measured out and lined up. And on the left side, which is the side I did today, I just, for whatever reason, picked the wrong spot. So I was supposed to do it on this one, but on the left side, these are all glued down, and this has the ones that come up. So that plan is not gonna line up with the supports anymore for that particular, for the middle support, for the whole wall. which is really not ideal. So we're gonna have to figure out a way around that, which will either be screwing into the decorative pieces that I've been really trying to make look nice, which is not my first choice, or maybe we could just see how it does on its own with fewer supports. I'm hoping it'll be okay because it'll have the bench seat pressing up against it to hold it upright. So it's not like there's gonna be a ton of sideways pressure pulling it down. I just am really kicking myself because I thought about it and I left the pieces undone. I just left the wrong pieces undone. But we'll get around it. I'm just very bummed that I did that. I cut off an additional piece of 2x4 to go in the center because we're reusing some old 2x4s left over from, I think, from building the rooftop deck. And we don't have any that are 30 inches, so I have a 25-inch piece and then this 5-inch piece. And together that should span the entire length. I don't need this part to bear any weight. I just want it to look uniform. I went ahead and stained the first one beforehand so that I could use it to line up the other pieces around it and make sure there's plenty of room, but it's not actually glued down. Now I'm doing a second round of staining for the small pieces, so I'm just throwing that one in there. So I'm at a point with the accent wall where I'm waiting on everything to dry. And so I'm gonna help out Jimmy by painting the hinges for the cabinet and the inside of the cabinet for the electronics compartment.
All right, we're kind of at a stopping point for today. We're gonna let some things dry and pick you back up tomorrow. Good morning, guys. It's the next day. We are so close to finishing with these dinette benches. So today, we're gonna wrap up some odds and ends before we get to painting.
It's much sunnier, so it's done raining, but it's still kind of cold. And either way, we'll be in the workshop, but.
So today, I'm going to work on painting the back wall and that mini door I cut out for the charging cabinet. Coat number 1 is down. I'm just gonna wait a few hours and come back out and do a second coat.
Whoops, sorry. Okay. So it's looking pretty good. Those pieces are staying on just fine, and I think this will work. It looks really cool. This is like kind of the final design. It's just gonna have a coat of sealant on top of it, which will make it look shinier and more polished, and also protect it from water or scuffs, or honestly protect people sitting next to it from splinters, because this is lightly sanded, but this is basic BC sheathing plywood, so it'll give you a splinter, and it's given me a couple. But I'm super excited about how it looks, and I cannot wait to put it up next week and see it in with the dinette. We're getting so close.
All right, the second coat of paint is on the back door. So I think we're gonna end the video now and wait for stuff to dry and pick things up next week. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing.
We really appreciate it. It's so much fun to watch this community grow and to share our experiences with you all, and yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of cool stories down in the comments, so I'm surprised at how many have recently bought a bus and are starting their conversion. So I think that is just so cool to, you know, all be doing this at the same time.
So that's all we have for you this week, but we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.